Hey, so I've shared that I have a little bit of a problem with hoarding art supplies and how I got myself into a really bad habit of just accumulating different panels and papers and paints, but stopping short of actually using them frequently. I would convince myself to buy something either because it was on sale or because I thought it would make me a better artist, or sometimes just because I was bored. Eventually, I realized I was getting more of a dopamine hit from buying different art supplies and not from actually making any art. So I challenged myself, and you guys are here to keep me accountable, to make some form of art on 32 canvases that I have taking up space in my studio. And today, I wanted to share the process of painting 3 of those canvases. When starting something small, I typically get very overwhelmed. It happened with my YouTube channel, it happens with every new art piece or collection that I make. To get over this hurdle, the one thing that I do at the start of every project is figure out the task that I can knock out quickly. This helps me to secure a win, and that little win gives me the motivation to keep going. So in this case, the way that we're going to find a quick win is to make a quick painting on the smallest panels in my stash, the 4x4-inch panels. There's not a whole lot that you can put on a 4x4, especially with how I like to paint, so I opted for making little profiles of some of my favorite flowers. I started with a series of sketches in Procreate while lounging on the couch, but once I got a few good sketches going, I decided to move over into my sketchbook, where I decided to do a few little studies to get a feel for how these paintings might look in real life. Satisfied with the color studies from my sketchbook, I decided to tone my panels and sketch out the drawing with white charcoal. So as I mentioned, there's not a whole lot that you can put on a 4x4-inch panel. It's a very odd size, and it's also kind of an odd shape. It's more of a square format, so the way in which I like to paint, it doesn't lend itself to, being able to put a ton of information on a panel of this size. I still wanted to try because I do have these panels, and the point of the challenge is to make some form of art to stretch my creative muscles and just see what I can do to, strengthen my creative abilities and just figure out how I can solve a problem, which is putting paint on a canvas that's really, really small. So I went back to my roots of painting flowers. And so with this particular painting, what I really wanted to do is study how I can show a flower with a kind of a warmer background. I wanted to kind of play around with how do different flowers look with different, temperature of background. So in this case, it's a kind of a cooler toned flower, a purple flower with a little bit of a warmer toned background. And I really like the way that it came out. I also wanted to play around a little bit with complementary colors. So we have this purple that is, a really nice cool tone purple, but I also wanted to see how I can use a warmer toned green in terms of the outline of the painting. I wanted to see how that would play around. So really interesting little painting that I did here, and I'm really excited with how it turned out. So my camera decided so rudely to die. I didn't charge the battery enough. But yeah, so you probably didn't see this, but I did go in and finished up the flower and then added in some details for the background and just kind of framed it in this way that I'm just kind of trying to frame it. So I think it came out really well. I like the colors that I chose. I had to go back in after I painted the first layer of the background and kind of tone down the saturation of the yellow. I thought it was competing a little bit with the orangish yellows in the flower, but after I toned it down, I think it came out really, really nicely. And I love the green outline that I set. I think it plays well with the yellows and also the purples in the flower. So yeah, I'm really thrilled with how it came out, and I'm so excited to see how the rest of them come out. So yeah, I'm gonna take you along for the process. So after I finished that painting and I liked the way it came out, I wanted to move on to the next one. This one, I wanted to play around with a warmer toned flower and a cooler toned background. Irises, bearded irises are flowers that I really enjoy painting. I love their shape and I love the way they just kind of look like little microphones. In a previous collection, I painted these bearded irises and I kind of thought of them as like little microphones. Like they were really fun to paint and I just loved how they came out. So in that collection, I they were actually purple irises. These are more of a cool, warm toned blue iris, and I really like the way that it came out. I think this is a really great flower for when you're just trying to paint one singular flower. I just love the shape of this. It has a very simple shape, but it also has a lot of different like folds in the flower that make it really interesting and intriguing for me to paint. So I'm going in and adding that blue, and I have different variations of blue. I've used a little bit of some phthalo blue, I've used some warmer ultramarine blue, and a little bit of green as well to kind of add in just some variation into the flower profile here. And then I decided to go in with the yellow. I did like the yellow of the background in the previous flower, so I wanted to again play around with the yellow, but this time I wanted to use a cooler toned yellow to offset this flower. So while the previous background had a little bit more of a warmer cad yellow in it, this has more of a cad lemon in the mixture. Also, I am using a very small brush for a lot of these paintings, and for some of the flower pieces it made sense, but I just realized that as I'm working through the background I really should have grabbed a bit of a bigger brush and made my life a little bit easier. So don't do what I did in terms of using a really tiny brush. It's better to just use a bigger brush, and I wish I would have at some point switched over to that bigger brush. So here you see me going in and adding the frame for this particular flower. You will notice that I first went in with a blue, a really dark blue color, and I didn't quite like it. I thought it just matched a little too much with the tones in the flower. So you will probably see me in the next clip or in another clip. The background will look a little different. I went in and put in more of an orange color instead of this blue. And here we have the final flower. I love poppies. Poppies are also another flower that I just love. I love their shape. I love their playfulness. They're a very simple flower, but they also, similar to a bearded iris, they have a lot of different folds in their petals, and so it can be tricky to paint them unless you simplify them. I did go a little bit overboard. I think I should have simplified this one a little bit more. I got caught up in some of the different values that I was seeing that I created in my painting reference, and I think I should have simplified it just a little bit more. But I do like the way that it came out. I had a lot of fun with painting this particular flower, and actually this painting session went a lot quicker than the previous two. I think that by starting small and just when you start to get yourself in the practice of painting, you realize that like it takes the first maybe couple paintings takes a while, but then as you warm up, as you kind of get more of your bearings together, it goes a lot quicker. So this this section of the video is a little bit longer. I did keep a little bit more of the painting process in the video to show, but this actually, I probably finished this painting in maybe 15 minutes, whereas the previous two were closer to like 20 minutes or so. But yeah, I really loved the way that this came out. And so I did it a little bit differently. Because this is a red flower, I wanted to use another primary color as the background, but I wanted to, instead of using a yellow, because I thought that the yellows would compete with the red in the flower, I wanted to more so use something that would just be, it would, kind of set it off a little bit better. And I think that that was the right choice. And apparently I did not learn my lesson with the previous painting. I am still going in with this little tiny brush, and I really should, I honestly, I have all those other brushes on the side. I don't know why I didn't grab one of those, but yeah, bad habit. I need to like use bigger brushes where possible. But once I've put in that background, I went in and for this particular painting, I had the purple flower painting on the side, and I really like that purple, and so I decided to use a similar tone purple to use to create this framing. I thought that using that purple really tied all three of these together and then kind of made them a little bit more cohesive. So you kind of see, unintentionally, you see that I played around with the different colors and grabbed one color from one painting and put it into other colors. So like they all kind of have a similar, like they all can live on their own, but they also as a set kind of work together because they kind of go with one another, if that makes sense. So like the orangish red one, the bearded iris flower, has similar tones as the poppy flower. The frame for the poppy flower has the same tones as the purple flower, and so on. So I really love the way all three of these came out. But that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for pressing play and for being with me here today. I really enjoyed painting these three flowers and just sharing the process with you. If you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up, as well as subscribe to get more videos like this in the future. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!